First time poster here, so I'm sorry if this is the wrong place to share this, but I've wanted to tell this story for a little while now. But I no longer live in that same city, so I feel a lot more comfortable sharing. My roommate, who is a 24-year-old male, and I, a 24-year-old female, lived in a duplex house less than a block away from the university in our town. So our street was always very busy, with cars or people just walking to campus day and night. The town itself is pretty small, but the side of town that our house is located on, and the college is located on, is considered the quote-unquote bad part of town. I simply think it's just because it's older and there's a few low-income housing on this side of town. But the crime rate overall is very low. There were a few homeless people here and there, but I got to know most of them while I worked fast food, so I was actually familiar with those people that were considered shady until this situation. I had never had any issues with safety in the 6 years that I'd lived here, and I regularly walked to work and school as I didn't have a car and have extreme driving anxiety. Around 9 to 10 months ago, I was in my living room around 10 p.m. watching TV, and my roommate was in his bedroom playing video games. I had ordered a pizza a little earlier in the evening, but some of my order was left at the store, so I called the pizza place to ask about it, and they told me someone was coming to bring the rest of it. While I'm sitting in the living room, someone knocks on my door very loudly, loud enough it startled me. I just assumed it was the pizza man because I was expecting them anyway. So I answered the door. I want to clarify here that there's no peephole, nor could you see who was on the porch from the window in the living room. So the only option was to answer the door. When I opened it, there was a middle-aged man that I'd never seen before standing on my porch in a large puffy jacket, with a black beanie on and big heavy boots. I don't remember his face too well because it was really dark, and I was so shocked and confused I said, hello? He took a small step back and said, "Hey, is your husband home?" I didn't really think about my response because I was so confused about what was happening, so I said, "No." Then he said,
"Oh, well, can you come outside and help me with something real quick?"
This immediately told me to get out of that situation. I told him to hold on, closed and locked the door, and went to get my roommate. I explained to him what had happened, and he went outside to see what was going on, and the man had fully vanished. It had been less than 5 minutes since I closed that door and got him, so the man must have either run away or gotten into a car with someone and driven away. I definitely felt like a crazy person because I was the only one that had seen him. My roommate then just told me, "Don't answer the door that late unless you know who it is." I was really shaken up after this incident, so I called my boyfriend crying to tell him what had happened. He then came over to make sure I was alright. Things were normal after that, but I was still very cautious at nighttime because I didn't want it to happen again. Fast forward to about mid-February, and it was around 8 p.m. I had been sitting in my living room watching TV when someone knocks on my door very loudly. Once again, I'm startled, but I go to answer it. When I open the door, I am almost certain that it's the same man from last time, wearing the same exact clothes. He starts to ask me again if my husband is home, and I immediately slam the door in his face, lock it, and go to get my roommate. Once again, the man is gone by the time my roommate got outside. I am absolutely terrified at this point. For it to happen once seemed like a fluke, just a weirdo at my door. But twice? My roommate and I go back and forth about calling the police, and I finally decided to just do it. I called the non-emergency line, filed a report, and a police officer came to my house. He took the description and said they'd keep an eye out for him. She asked me if I noticed anything specific about him, like if he had weapons or if there was another car out on the road. But I didn't see anything like that. I left a note in my duplex's neighbor's mailbox to tell them all about it, because I knew there was a girl around my age that had lived there, and I wanted to make sure she was aware for her own safety. But she told me later on that he had never come by her house and she'd never seen him. Nothing like that ever happened again prior to me moving out. But it stuck with me for a long time and honestly still makes me weary to this day. Now, I am very cautious when I leave my house even in the daytime. It made me feel paranoid that I was being followed or targeted for sex trafficking or something. Thankfully, I now live in a completely different city with my now fiance, and I feel a lot safer.
I was reminded of this story yesterday. A friend and I were 15-year-old females, let loose at a top-rated theme park where you would never think something scary would happen. Her mother and stepdad took us on a designated holiday, and rain was expected. I thought fewer people would be there. In the early 90s, not many people went on actual holiday. My friend and I had been up almost 24 hours on a sugar high. Leaving two 15-year-olds at home alone for a week, not a fabulous idea. Go figure. We were all over the place, loud, manic, laughing at stupid shit. Her mom made one thing clear. If employees thought we were drunk and kicked us out, we could just freeze our asses off in the car, way out in the parking lot, while they had fun for hours on end. This was long before cell phones, the internet, and we had no books. It would have been hell. As the park cleared out, we got real food at a park restaurant and settled down, enjoying our time there. At one point, we kept riding this one ride. Usually, operators after midnight would allow us to sit in the ride and go through multiple times before closing because nobody was there. We were back to being sleep-deprived and probably looked very intoxicated for all intents and purposes. These two guys running this particular ride kept making us go through the maze of a line to get back on this ride. It took minutes of rushing just to get back to the front. Each time we were more and more tired and laughing more. I didn't realize there was a method to the madness. The fourth time we went through, the guys running it asked us to come over to their side of the ride, but we pointed out we couldn't and wouldn't jump the track. They had us ride. Again, a huge car with only us in it. And when we got off, they were there, each taking one of our arms and forcing us into a part of the ride where workers are only allowed. It took me a minute to realize what was happening. These guys were on the tall side and built at least college age. I thought they were twins, but realized my mistake. They looked similar because they had the same theme uniform and haircuts. We were still giggling, and when I saw the looks on their faces, I realized that we were in serious trouble with a shot of adrenaline. They looked determined, and their heads were on a swivel. We hadn't seen anyone walking around in hours. Everything had lights on and music was playing. Still, we hadn't even seen the usual workers perpetually cleaning the park. Nobody was operating food stands. It was a ghost town. The next thing I knew, the guy was walking off with my friend, and the guy on me pushed my back against the door. This is not good. I had a flash of insight. This is a brand-name family amusement park they took us to because they think we are easy prey. They are taking a huge chance messing with us because we could identify them, and there are cameras everywhere. I knew I had to act dumb, like I had no idea what was going on. And then I heard the other guy saying, "Hey, she won't cooperate. You said she'd cooperate." Cooperate? Oh, fuck no. I gave a fake giggle and pretended to stumble into the guy who backed up. I pretended I was going to puke, and he pointed to a trash can. I went the other way and saw my friend swaying with a scared look on her face. I jokingly stumbled into the guy and put her on my back, like I was giving her a piggyback ride. She was notorious for freezing from a childhood trauma, and I had done this before. I shot out of there, singing loudly, sounding like a crazy drunk person. The park was closing soon, and I ran to the gates. My legs started giving out as we reached near the front. My friend was slowly being able to move again, when her mom waved us over. While we never told her mom or my mom, I asked my dad's friend, who had a daughter who worked for the corporation near the park, often got us free passes, that I wanted to interview her for my English class. A week later, he gave me her number, and I called and immediately blurted out what happened and to please not to tell my parents. I gave her all the details, and she told me not to worry, they would be fired and banned before the next day. Later, I went back to the park with my boyfriend that year and never saw either of those guys again. I was told that the park would keep them out of that kind of work environment forever, similar to blacklisting. I was so thankful she took me seriously. She told me she had worked at the park as a teenager as a certain character and had creepy dads do all kinds of sleazy crap to her, so she had a particular ire for that kind of shit. I feel if I had sobered up and put up a fight, there would have been terrible consequences, but that was just my gut feeling at the moment. I am still friends with that lady all these years later. We occasionally use that story to warn her kids and grandkids that bad things can happen anywhere. My stalker set himself on fire using something flammable, but also something that wouldn't actually hurt him. This is long. I apologize in advance. For background information, I'm female, on a volunteer fire department, and this happened a few years ago when I was 20. During our drills at my former department, our bay doors are open so people have been known to walk by and talk to us, ask us questions, or just look at the trucks. One evening, this dude, 23 male, strolls by, a fellow firefighter from another town, which isn't uncommon. Firemen stop by other departments all the time when in town. He made his rounds and was talking to my chief, my captain, the young guys, and he made his way over to me and started chatting me up. He was a nice guy and good-looking enough. We exchanged Snapchats, and it didn't take long to figure out what a psycho he was. After a week of talking, he messaged me saying, "So, how come you didn't swipe right?" Confused, I asked him what he meant, and then this unfolded. He told me this was all in an attempt to impress me with how devoted he was. He found me on a dating app, used my picture from the dating app to find my Facebook, since in my one photo I'm wearing a uniform that had my last name. That was definitely my bad. He then used my profile picture to find out what fire department I was on by looking closely at the fire truck in the background. He told me he walked by my department almost every day to see when we drilled and to spot me. As he is telling me this, I'm confused as heck, and he goes, "I'm having a pretty rough day. Can I come over?" Cue to him telling me he's on his way. He used my Snapchat location to find my work and house. My location on everything is now off. When he came to my house, he brought a love letter and gifts. He said he was sorry and confused and just really wanted to work things out. I told him that he needed to leave and never speak to me again, to which he obliged by leaving, saying, if that would make me happy. He made maybe 3 or 4 new Snapchat and Facebook profiles in an attempt to add me back. At one point, he got clever and made his Snapchat username Chris Smith 1990, which made me go, "Hey, it's my friend Chris Smith." Lo and behold, it was not Chris Smith. Once I realized it wasn't my friend, but instead the psycho, he asked what he could do to make it up to me. I texted "get lost and go set yourself on fire." I then got a video of him walking in the woods, and then he set himself on fire. He flickered a lighter over his hand, and I thought, yeah, okay. Then his entire hand and arm lit up, followed by screaming, and it cut out. I started to freak out thinking, well, fuck, and immediately got a photo of the hairs on his knuckles burnt off and his burnt shirt. He was okay and coated his arm in something flammable, but something that wouldn't actually damage him. Locked again. He fucked off after coming to my house again, and I had a gun in my hand and told him to stop or the cops would be involved. But to be fair, it wasn't loaded. I didn't know how to use it, and I was planning on swinging the thing if it really got bad. So, crazy stalker who set himself ablaze? Let's not meet.
This is a true story. God is my witness. I'm not making it up. I'm 57 years old now, and this is a memory that never goes away, never fades. In 1986, I stopped in Topeka, Kansas, and I was on my way home from working in Yellowstone National Park for the summer. My friend had also graduated from high school a few years before and had moved out to Topeka with his parents. I ended up staying around a week. His parents invited me to stay an extra day for their family reunion before I headed back to my house. We drove way out into the country for the reunion in this old beater car and spent all day with his extended family. In the late afternoon, we made our way back to Topeka in that same beater car with the broken gas gauge. And sure enough, we ran out of gas. He said we were probably 6 to 7 miles from the nearest gas station. And keep in mind, this is pre-cell phone. We were trying to figure out what to do when suddenly a van with no windows pulls over and asks us if we need help. When you're young, you think these things just miraculously happen, just for you. And when you're older, you know better. We told him we ran out of gas, and a friendly enough man offered to take us to the nearest gas station. We get inside the van, only to discover there is a total of 3 men inside this vehicle, and there are no seats in the back. So we're just sitting on the floor of what appears to be some work-type, beat-up older model white panel van, when we clearly hear all the men discussing doing us some sort of harm. The driver says he knows a good place to go, and the other man in the passenger seat eyeing me agrees that he's in and nods with approval. Only one man sitting near us says he's not in and doesn't want to be involved in this at all. He's got a baby now and he's not cool with this, reiterating that he doesn't want any part of it. The driver and the passenger seat rider said something under their breaths that we couldn't hear. There was an angry silence while the driver thought this over. And in my mind, I prayed one word: help. My mind felt like I was stuttering through thoughts, and part of me was in denial. The other part was in complete shock. Fear just hadn't set in yet. Just an hour ago, we were all completely safe, without a care in the world. And now, the absurd idea of someone raping me. Yes, I was acutely aware that raping me and then murdering us both were what they were about to do. And then leaving us somewhere nobody would find us. All these things were flipping through my mind. We were in Kansas after all, lots of lonely, godforsaken, desolate roads to nowhere. If at any point the third guy changed his mind or simply just said, "Let me out," I wouldn't be sharing this with you right now. They stopped talking to one another. They had never spoken to us at all from the very moment we entered the van. And my friend and I didn't speak to one another either. We barely even looked at one another. We were so afraid. I could hear the clinking, rattling trap van noises of the tires on the road. And I saw my friend flexing as if to warn he would fight to defend himself, all while they were discussing where to take us. Everything felt just surreal. But the guy in the back said no, and just like that, the driver pulled over and the guy in the back opened up the side door and let us out, and it was over. The air outside smelled somehow fragile and tainted. The ground looked different, like I couldn't quite trust it. My friend looked just as shaken as I felt. We had somehow survived a close encounter with shark-like predators, the blackest, darkest evil. I looked at the gas station in the late afternoon sunset. That gas station had transformed itself into a beacon of shining light, a safe haven of shelter and safety. And once we got inside, there was no way I would walk back to the car. The white van with no windows pulling away from us felt so surreal. Like looking at it might just give it the power to suck us back up into its vacuum of ill intent. Today I can still see that van pulling away. It's a sort of mirage from a nightmare that had crossed over into my waking reality. I was around 12 years old when this happened. I lived in a duplex that my parents owned. And one day I was outside in the front yard playing with my dogs. The house is located in a neighborhood that's right by a busy main road. So during the daily rush hour, the area would get really busy. Thank God for this, because I was busy with my dogs and I noticed a black car in front of my house that kept inching forward a little, and then backing up a little more. I noticed the driver was leering at me in a creepy way, and I got a really bad feeling. So I ran up the stairs to where I live with my parents. I told my mother about what had just happened, and I have no idea what was going through her mind at the time because she didn't seem to be fazed at all or concerned. A few minutes later, she sent me to the grocery store that was a block away, and after griping to her about that, I ended up just walking to the store. The duplex is across the street from a bank, and next to that bank, on the other side of the wall by the drive-up tellers, was an alley that also led to the store. I decided to take the bank route because I just felt safer. Thankfully, there was a line of people waiting as I walked by the ATM. And who do I see but that same creepy guy parked in his car in front of the ATM. I kept my eyes on him the whole time as I walked past, and he was leaning forward with his hands on his wheel, staring at me and licking his lips. I got out of there as quickly as I could and ran the rest of the way to the store. As I was walking out the exit, I saw my brother waiting for me outside. He told me to get in and drove me home. He had been listening to what I told our mom about that guy outside the house and reamed her about it for making me walk to the store alone, knowing that this guy was lurking around in our neighborhood. To this day, I still get the chills knowing how close I came to potentially being raped or murdered by that pervert. It makes me sick to my stomach to even think about it, to be honest. I had been meaning to tell this story here for a while, but like I said, every time I so much as think about it and what could have happened, I just get sick. This happened literally 30 minutes ago. I'm a female and 15 and short petite in size. I live in Florida, so it was raining all morning today, and I decided to go on a run that evening. It was just a regular run. I don't like to run in my neighborhood just because there's too many turns and it messes me up. I'm on the side of the highway on the sidewalk where usual bikers and people walking their dogs are. There's a fire station close to me and I feel relatively safe most of the time. I carry pepper spray and always have my phone on me. I stopped at the 2-mile point, turned around and started walking, texting my mom where I was and said that I'm coming home. As I'm changing my music, I noticed a golf cart that stopped ahead of me that I'd already run by earlier that same day. I recognized it by the smell of weed coming from it, and occupying it was an old man who I'd noticed earlier. Not paid much attention to it because there was a golf course right there, where usually the older people go to. I already get a bad feeling from being a teenage girl and having something like this happen before. So as I'm walking past, he tries to say something to me. I completely ignore him and just start sprinting. I turn my head back and the headlights are on and this man is following me in that golf cart. I'm freaking out at this point, so I call my mom and I'm crying while actually running for my life. I see another group of people in a golf cart going into a neighborhood, so I flag them down for help and get inside their cart. At this point, the guy following me is right there and continues literally following the people I'm with, trying to get to me. My mom is pissed and thinks that the people who literally saved my life are the ones trying to kidnap me. She eventually gets there, figures out that they had actually helped me and not kidnapped me. I know this story is nothing serious like some stuff on here, but I'm very thankful that nothing actually happened to me. I keep thinking what would have happened though, if all those people weren't there and he had gotten to me. I could obviously never outrun a golf cart, and there was nothing but random neighborhoods around me. I, a 27-year-old female, was at the laundromat today with my father and 1.5-year-old. To kill some time between loads, I took my extremely active Todd outside where he couldn't destroy things. There's a gas station about 30 yards next door, and there was a 6-foot chain link fence halfway between that separates the lots. The area directly next to the laundromat that connected to the fence was a grassy, sandy open area with one large tree right in the center. My son runs outside and turns and starts running around in this area, laughing and playing, which is totally fine. After about a minute, he starts running up diagonally towards the fence in the direction of the gas station. I'm laughing behind him, watching his little legs go, when all of a sudden I hear footsteps approaching me. So I turn around and look, and I kid you not, it was like the movie Get Out. This man was just straight knee to chest running straight towards my child with manic eyes. I bolted and scooped him up and darted back into the laundromat so fast. I glanced back over my shoulder when I was taking off, and the guy was now on his knees, laughing and rolling around, being all weird. I'm not sure if he was mentally ill or high, but I was shaking so bad because I had no clue what his intentions actually were. Hey everyone, thanks for listening if you stuck around at this point. If you haven't yet, please hit that like button, the subscribe button, and that notification bell to be notified when future episodes come out. You can stalk me on Facebook, you can stalk me on Twitter, and you can also stalk me on Instagram. If you have a true scary story of your own, feel free to send it to my email or post it to my subreddit. All these links are below. Hey, what's going on, guys? I hope you enjoyed this episode. I enjoyed making it so much. Also, if you heard the new voice, which you probably have yet to hear, obviously, on my channel, because I've never featured her before, but Danie Dreadful, fucking cool ass chick, great narrator, very cool, very genuine person, very talented narrator. Very talented narrator. She's a very talented narrator, and I'm lucky enough that she was willing to come on and do a couple stories. And yeah, again, she's just fucking rad, man. I've said it time and time before, and I'll continue to say it. There's just some of the most genuine and just rad and fucking cool people, man, in this horror narrator community. There's just so many, and I'm very, very, very happy and lucky and fortunate and thrilled and excited to be a part of it and to be welcomed, this easily. And, it's, I don't know. I'm stoked to be a part of it. It feels good. Feels good, man. I have all next week off for vacation, so there will probably be a lot of episodes. I wouldn't say a lot, but I'll get a lot more done next week. And I broke down and made myself a TikTok, so I'm gonna leave a link below. Oh my god, I will leave that link below. I'll leave that link below, and you can follow me on there if you have one of those. I don't really post that often, but it's something I need, to get my name out there and get more traffic to the channel. So I broke down and did it. Just all right, just follow me, okay? Just follow.